New Amsterdam.
I don't like the sweet
Bad,
shit.
bad
I
memories.
like. I kind of want my liquor to bite me.
Fair enough. I'm
Yeah,
not mad at you.
yeah.
Oh, did I tell you I got the 14 Pro Max?
You did?
Dude, this thing is massive.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous.
I'm not gonna get
So
that phone.
I understand. I had the 11, so it was time for a pretty big upgrade, and it was only like $4 a month more. So
Yeah,
it's hard to say no.
yeah. Say no. Um. Yeah. I'm gonna. If I get this new gig, I'll gonna get the 14 Pro.
Oh yeah, I'm all in for it. I will say, depending on what you're coming from, it may not be worth it because, like, essentially what I've researched about it, the jump from the 13 Pro to the 14 Pro is essentially just that new feature with the dynamic window or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
which is nice. Do not get me wrong, it's dope, but
Yeah.
it's not worth
The cameras are also pretty nice too, and I'm coming from a 12 mini,
it. Okay, yeah, so
and
it's worth
yeah,
it.
so it's
That's a
not. I
significant
could
jump.
totally go another year painlessly, but I don't want to. Purvis, we've been
No.
recording this entire phone conversation.
The phone conversation? Okay,
Yeah,
bet. No,
yeah,
yeah.
we've been
I
recording
mean,
since the whiskey conversation. Welcome to the show,
nice.
everybody.
Well, we talk about whiskey, phones, and music, I guess.
I guess we got a big one. We got a live one tonight.
This is a big one. I feel like I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I loved having Jasper on last week, but it's been what
Yeah,
our third week now since it's been just you and me. It's been a while.
yeah, yeah. Shout out Jasper. Uh,
No, yeah, amazing.
yeah. Yeah, dude, great
Um,
guest, great guest. You'll see him around. We wanna get more guests on here more often. I also want Isaac back.
yes, we are definitely gonna have Isaac back soon.
Yeah.
Before you end, happy belated birthday to him. If you didn't know, it's like 3 days ago.
Oh, happy belated birthday, Isaac. I'll DM him
Uh,
on Instagram too.
oh yeah.
All right. So shall we hop into the news? Don't have a whole lot of news this week.
We really don't.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's nothing big, I think, regarding what we typically like. But I mean, it's a little bit of
Yeah.
stuff to go over.
Yeah. Plus
Um,
we have a new meltdown to talk about.
yeah, no, Jesus Christ, we'll get to that. But starting off with the albums, we have I mentioned it last week. Quavo and Takeoff are dropping a album, just those two without Offset. It's called Only Built for Infinity Links.
Uh,
Um,
Clearly based on the Raekwon only built for Cuban links.
So I don't know what to expect. I mean, I hope it's good.
I think
I'm
by
not gonna go
attaching
in it with
yourself
high
to such a
expectations.
legendary duo album, they're
A lot of
they're
pressure.
either making a statement or this is going to be implosion.
I'm gonna go with Implosion, if I'm being
Oh,
honest.
yeah, probably Offset best Migo.
You think so?
I think Offset's best Migo. Yeah,
I gotta think about it. I feel like Quavo's always been their leader naturally,
yeah. Oh no, he's certainly the ringleader. And Takeoff was left off bad and bougie.
which
Uh,
the only thing he's known for.
yeah.
But
Uh,
yeah, anyway,
I definitely
it
think
is what it
Offset
is.
has had the best career outside of the Migos.
I was gonna say they all have their individual albums. Um,
Yeah, but like Offset
I'm trying
better.
to see.
Like,
I'm legit. Okay, Offset had Father of Four, which actually was good. I'm not even
yeah,
gonna lie,
that was
that
like
was a
the
decent
best of
album.
the Migos solo albums.
That's what I'm looking into now. So we have Offset with the Father for we have Quavo with Quavo Honcho, which wasn't bad,
Mm,
but it was okay. Takeoff, I'm pretty sure his was terrible. I think his was the worst one.
yeah,
He had The Last Rocket, and yeah,
yeah.
that's about it.
Less Apollo, more Challenger.
Yeah.
That was a
But
space joke. Like
you're
Apollo
real
went to
smart
the
there,
moon,
Brandon.
Challenger exploded. Like
How does that come to the top of your head? Just that
I
quickly.
I don't know. ADHD. Like
Fair enough. Moving on. We have we have Kodak Black coming out with Kill Throat Bill, Volume One. Um, I don't have much of a comment, but he's in the industry.
yeah, he's in the
He's
industry.
made
I
a
mean,
name
like,
for
look, Kodak
himself.
Black has never really been my cup of tea as long as he's been Kodak Black.
Yeah, no. He's got a
But
couple of singles here and there that I
a
like
couple
though.
singles there. I liked his contribution to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
That as well, right? But
Uh,
that was his first kind of presence this year.
yeah. So do you think we might see a Kenny feature on this?
Doubtful. I'm being honest.
It's definitely doubtful, but I don't think it's impossible.
Correct. It's not impossible. I am doubtful.
Yeah.
I will suffer and put myself through probably listen to a whole album, maybe get through most of it. I will say the last Kodak album, the most recent one, I actually did try to listen to, and I eventually fell off halfway through.
Yeah, I might. I'll give one of these two a try, or maybe I won't. Like,
Or maybe I won't. We also have Survivor's Remorse from G Herbo coming out. The side A, side B format. Side A is coming out tonight. You should be able to hear that on the 7th. And then side B is 3 days later on the 10th. I don't understand the format of side A, side B, if I'm being
it's
honest.
cool, but like, we'll see if it's anything interesting. Like, yeah, I think it's cool to call back to like that time when like music was divided by like the sides, with vinyl and shit.
Yeah.
But like, you know, you kind of have to do something interesting. If this is just like 6 songs and then like another 6 songs, it's like
What was the point?
great. And like, I'm sure everyone will look past the gimmick if it's good. Totally.
Of course.
Yeah, but like, if you're not doing something, if you're not doing it for a reason, why are you doing it?
Very true. It's a weird position where,
Yeah,
like you said, by all means, I do like the idea of changing it up or going back to something focused more on the vinyl days where you have to flip them. But I don't quite I don't quite understand if this is a marketing strategy, business strategy, or something in between, because it's not a deluxe where like you get the album and then 5 or 6 extra songs 2 weeks later. And it's not like Kendrick Lamar's album where it's like a clear side A, side B released at the same time. What's the point
yeah,
of the 3 days?
yeah,
Um, but I mean, it is what it is.
yeah. Then we have
Next,
Gene
do you
Dawson.
know this person? I was
Nope,
actually gonna ask.
nope. I know Isaiah
So,
Rashad and Earl.
yep, that is why I included it. I just found out about Gene Dodson. I think it's coming out with the album tomorrow, Chaos Now. It did stand out to me because it has 3 features, 2 of them that stood out was Isaiah Rashad and Earl. I have to at least listen to the songs individually. If I do like those, I will listen to the rest of the album. I think Isaiah Rashad had a top 5 album last year,
Yeah,
and Earl had
it was definitely one of the
an
better
album
ones.
this year called Sick. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'll do it. Took the walk to Poland.
he took the
Sounds.
walk to Poland.
The
I mean,
man
it
took the
doesn't
walk to
sound
Poland.
bad. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say it. It does not sound bad.
It doesn't sound bad at all. I just know how
It,
you feel about Yo Yachty and the fact that it's a meme song. I
I
think
I just think Lil Yachty has just been bad way more often than he's been good. But I don't hate Lil Yachty.
okay. I mean, that's fair. That is actual factual, to be honest, because like he has a couple of bangers, but overall you can't really listen to his albums front to back. I think.
Yeah,
Um,
he's just not. He's just not an album guy.
he is not an album guy at all. That's a great way to put it. But besides him, yeah, I just want to throw that in to see if you would even be interested in it.
No, like
But
I thought like I heard like he took the walk to Poland. Like I heard that,
so,
and
do you know Lennar? Like the um, he's like an influencer, but also like a comedian sketch person.
yeah,
He literally just did a video. That's how like it's blowing up so quickly that like influencers are already making meme videos about it. And so he's famous for like making videos about when songs are made, what they do in the studio.
yeah.
And it's literally like Lil Yachty laying down on his stomach, and he has one of those massage guns running on his back because that's how it sounds like the vibration in the voice.
Yeah,
And so it's just like a perfect meme song.
I think it's good. I like it.
But I like that actually. I'm glad. I did
Yeah,
not
no,
expect you to like
yeah. No.
it.
Look, I'm not saying. Look, is it a better song than Father Time?
No,
Maybe, but like,
no. But Yeah, moving on. We also have a much more serious song.
Yeah.
We have Jasmine Sullivan coming out with the song "Stand Up" that should be coming out tonight. Apparently, it's connected to a movie about Emmett Till
Oh my
releasing
god,
next weekend.
that
I missed
movie
this.
looks really rough.
I missed all the trailers and everything. I didn't even know this was coming out.
Save yourself. It does not look like a innovative uh it does not look like a worthwhile. Oh, I'm not saying the story of Emmett Till isn't worthwhile. I'm just saying like it feels very
Forced. Okay.
exploitative. Yeah,
hmm
that's the best way to do it. It's
That's actually what I
very
was gonna say.
yeah. It. I've seen the trailers with my buddy Patrick. Patrick, shout out Patrick Parker, and my girl, and they were like, "I will not see that movie."
Really? Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to look at the trailer at least. I did not know, but that's good information.
yeah,
I couldn't tell if like what you were saying was saying like it's gonna be a rough movie to watch because the story is like just naturally messed up, or if
yeah.
it's like a cash grab, like you said.
It feels more like the latter,
Sad.
you know.
That is sad.
And like, look, it's not like it's not a story worth telling. It's just
The right people have to do it
yeah, and
and tell
for
the
the right
story
reasons.
appropriately for the right reasons as well.
Yeah,
Correct.
So look, I'm sure the song is great. Jasmine
Oh yeah,
Sullivan is a hell of a talent.
love her.
But I do not want to see that movie.
It's sad to hear that, considering like I don't know
How
who else will
important of a
be
story
on.
it is. Yeah, because like
Yeah,
too many people don't know the story of Emmett Till.
exactly.
Yeah, that's
And
just
including that is just. I would hope they would do it the right way because I feel like Jasmine Sullivan would be a good person to represent the community. So
yeah,
if the track list is positive like
and
this,
it's not
I
like
would hope it would follow
it's
through
not like
at an extent.
because the movie is sussy, it doesn't mean like the song is going to be bad.
All right. Look, what crap? Something just came out where it was saying like, okay, this isn't actually accurate to like portray how it was. Elvis just came out and people were saying like, oh, the movie made him portray like he was just in love with black people. He was so ingrained in the community, and apparently that's not true. And it was like supposed to be a false story of it. And then like
I
I just
don't.
hope this doesn't follow through, where it's like making it seem like it wasn't as bad as it was to
So
whitewash it.
the thing is, like, I've read a lot of stories about Elvis, like by
hmm
like black music historians, and like
Oh,
that's kind of true though. You know,
I
the
could be incorrect. I
yeah,
was just kind of reading like what I
but
saw
you
online.
know, the thing is, when you tell that story and you tell it in that way, it it's always gonna whitewash what actually happened, even like if that part is true.
hmm
Uh, and my take on the whole Elvis thing is like he was not the person who stole rock and roll from the black community. He was the weapon the people who did it used.
Interesting.
You know, so like, is he responsible? Sure, but like, I think he is. He was not the person doing it. It was uh the executives behind him.
hmm Okay. Considering how like the music industry works, I completely would understand that. Okay, but well, I'll be at least watching the trailer for that, and we'll get around to it. But moving on to the actual news, a couple of things have been kind of teased lately.
Yeah,
We have SZA starting to do some pre-album release things. She has been in a couple of different advertisements and some interviews, speaking on what's going on. A couple of people who's been lucky enough to hear the album spoke on it and said things about like be ready for her to speak her mind and like SZA's focusing on herself and it looks amazing. Someone said it sounds like she lost herself and found herself. So I am extremely excited, but there's
yeah.
no
No, if
release date.
I was looking back the other day. I was doing this thing where I was looking at all the albums released for every year I was alive, and like what are
hmm
my favorite albums from that year. And when I got to 2017, like for a hot second, I'm like, "Holy shit! Is the best album from 2017 Control?"
It's up there.
It's
I
up
think
there,
Control aged even better than like
and
when it first came out.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it has aged even better. It's a classic album.
Yeah.
undeniably. The only thing is that Saturation 2 also came out. Uh,
So yeah, that's
so
tough.
I don't know about that. I don't know
That
about
is
that.
tough.
But whatever Sis is doing, I'm down. I think she is an eminent talent, and I'm just here for it.
Could you believe this will be her sophomore album? Think about how long we've known SZA.
Yeah, yeah. Well, her mixtape was big.
I guess that's true, but still,
No, that doesn't negate what you're saying. It's still her sophomore album. But
that's
like
kind of
you're right.
crazy.
You're right. Yeah, like look how long we've known SZA.
Huh. I just thought about like the amount that people, and of course, it also comes with like Frank Ocean and Rihanna, like generation talents. Like you'll never get anyone else like that. And not to say SZA isn't as good, but like those are once in a lifetime names. So it's
Yeah.
interesting how much we like hate or not hate, but exaggerate. That's what I meant to say. How long it's been between Frank Ocean albums and Rihanna, but we don't say SZA.
Oh, I know exactly why that is.
Okay,
It's
serious.
because SZA does a bunch of features.
Ooh, that is true.
And like especially the last few years, she's been not like a million songs, but four or
She's
five.
her name is significantly comes up way more. You're right.
Yeah, it's just she's just on more projects. She was featured very heavily on the Black Panther album. She did a bunch of songs last year and this year with like Doja Cat and Megan, uh, Cardi.
Couple
Oh,
singles,
yeah, a few
several
singles.
singles.
Like don't get me wrong, it's not especially for an artist for quality. Like it's
Mhm.
not gonna substantiate the desire for an album. But I definitely think like if we were getting like two or three Frank Ocean features a year, we'd probably feel a lot better about waiting this long for the music for albums.
Yes,
You
we
know what I
would.
mean? Like,
That is very true. No,
I
you're
mean,
right.
I think that's why like I remember people talking about how it was a long time for Blonde, and it's been twice as long since. Uh,
Jesus.
isn't that crazy? Like the wait for Blonde was like 4 years, and everyone thought it was like the longest wait ever, and we are 6 years out of Blonde.
6 years. 6 years. It was 4 years between Channel Orange. It's been
Yeah,
6 years
2012
for Blonde.
and 2016.
So yeah, it hurts, man.
Yeah, that hurts.
Pain. I literally just I felt that one.
All right. So you have here talking about
Yeah.
Intergalactic, aka the first Mid Cudi album.
It's insane that she called that. And
Yeah.
like I hate I was thinking about this earlier. I didn't even want to use the term mid because like a lot of
It's so
influencers are like
overused. It's
exactly.
so overused.
It has no meaning. It has every meaning. It can mean
Anything
nothing.
that's
It can mean
not
everything.
Mr.
It's just
Morale, anything that's not as good as Mr. Morales or as bad as a Little Xan album is the people
exactly,
online. You
which
know.
is very undescriptive. But
Yeah.
it is what
But
it is.
but especially when you have an artist with such a large sample size.
Yes, absolutely.
Like now I've yet to hear the album. And the reason why I'm talking about this is like do we maybe want to talk about the album and the movie next week?
Oh, and do everything at once.
Yeah,
Okay,
like to do the episode.
we could. Yeah, we
Yeah,
could
we
do
can do
next
that.
week on a mid Cuddy album.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
All
because
right, but
we can't just review like good and bad albums. Like we gotta,
it's true, 100%. And you
Yeah.
do make a good point. I haven't watched the movie either, so that will give me enough time to like
Yeah,
give the album justification.
I'm gonna watch the movie this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, the album I got one listen through. I didn't feel the need to stop, but man, mid is one way to put it.
Yeah. It's crazy. Fantano gave it a strong 6.
He did give it a strong 6,
Yeah.
which we don't really like that grading, but
I
considering that the average is 5, it's not too far off.
it
from what we're
flattens
saying.
everything, but yeah, like well, the thing is that like Fantano's not afraid to give Cuddy like ones, like
Oh yeah, exactly. No,
yeah, and
yeah.
I think Pitchfork gave it like almost a 7.
Okay. I
You
will
know,
take Fantano's over that.
yeah, but so it's just crazy because like I'm not hearing that it's like this amazing project, but everyone's like, yeah, it's good enough. Like
It's literally it's good enough. I
Yeah.
did not watch the full Fantano video, but he did
I
say something that I did agree on. Sorry,
what
go ahead.
what was it?
He said something along the lines of this is Cuddy working within his comfort zone and box. And so you're gonna get a Cuddy album. Like it's Cuddy's aura and vibe and sound, which cannot be replicated. Only Cuddy can do that. But he did not expand it in any sense or push the boundaries. So you're getting a basic, watered down, standard Cuddy album. And that's the only way that I can even think about it myself.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like I haven't heard it yet. I've heard the sample tracks. Thought one was good, one was great. Uh, yeah,
All right.
I'll be there to listen.
I was gonna say we'll dive into it because he's
Yeah,
been doing promoting about it. Today he had a Hot Ones video
yeah.
on
I'm
YouTube.
gonna I'm
So
gonna watch that because I love Hot Ones.
oh yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
fantastic show.
yeah.
What an idea!
You know that guy used to do the same job I do here in Chicago.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah,
And I feel like this is so random that I'm giving him such a big shout out. But I just feel like the idea behind it is so dope. The people you brought into it, you have sports
yeah.
people, you have musicians now. It's all kinds of stuff. It's
And like
really cool.
relatively serious people, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think he's had any politicians on for good reason. But
Yeah, I was
like,
gonna say that might be a bit
but he
much.
has like he had like Gordon Ramsay on. That's the best one in my opinion.
One of my
Uh,
favorite ones is the Shaq one,
oh,
the
the
Idris
Shaq one's
Elba
great.
one.
The Idris Elba
They're
one
all
where
really
he
good.
literally eats something so hot he threatens to fight Sean Evans. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's hard to beat that. And like, it's good interview questions. He
Yeah,
actually asks insightful
he
questions.
asks like great interview questions. He's good at like finding, how do I put this? Like really specific, really telling questions that are kind of still in the person's comfort zone.
Hmm.
You know, like because he doesn't ask like hard questions. Because the hard part of the interview is the wing part. Do you ever see the
Surviving
Chance
for
the Rapper
this.
one where he taps out?
I feel like I have Disney acts like ice cream or something.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's like
Yeah, I've
one of
seen
the few people who
that.
couldn't do it. I think
Which
another.
is like astonishingly like, come on. Of all
Well,
the
we're.
people that taps out,
I mean, Chicago's famous for mild sauce, man. What do you want? Like,
I know, but still, bro.
uh,
Anyway.
the other really funny one is Michael Che. You gotta watch Michael Che because
Ooh,
he
okay.
doesn't do chicken wings. He does fish sticks because he refuses to eat fried chicken on camera.
Nice. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah,
It's actually really dope. Okay.
yeah.
So we'll be watching that. We'll bring that up next week too. But moving on, we
Yeah.
have what seems to be a follow-up album.
I was
We have
actually gonna ask, like, is this a
it
follow
sounds
up
like
to
it,
Doggy
right?
Style? Like,
Snoop Dogg has confirmed the album Missionary, which, another sex position from Doggy Style, produced by Dr. Dre.
but
Yeah.
here's the thing, man. Like, to me, like, yeah, it's kind of like, it's a funny title, and it's funny, especially in comparison to Doggy Style, which something I'm gonna try and do more is like listen to classic albums. And after I saw
Same.
this drop, like, I'm gonna jump into Snoop Dogg's repertoire because everyone says Doggy Style is the best debut rap album of all time,
Yeah.
and like.
I haven't even listened to it either. There's a lot of classes I gotta get to.
When I was first getting really, really into hip hop, there was like a year where I went and I listened to like all the classics.
Of course.
And like I was like, oh, I really like Wu Tang. I like Tribe Called Quest. I like uh NWA. And like that was kind
Hmm.
of like all that stuck.
Okay.
Like and like the thing is that you just changed so much. Like I remember it's super funny because this was like 2012. This was maybe even earlier, maybe like 2011. And like yeah, because it was before rap music came out. And like I had listened to like LP, and I'm like, nah, I don't like this. And now like,
Boy, has that changed.
yeah, now he's like one of my favorite. Like, like so, I want to go back, and I think with this announcement, to me, it's signaling that it's going to be a project he's taking seriously.
But
And,
yeah, I was actually gonna say way more serious. Yeah.
yeah, I got zero hate for Snoop Dogg. He is
I have a
uh
question. Did you listen to his other album this year?
No, no, I didn't.
I'm
Because
telling you, it's an easy listen. It really
okay,
is.
cool.
It's
Yeah,
not too hard to like get
that's
through.
gonna be. I'm gonna save it right now.
Okay. I did eventually get to it. I think I was texting you about it earlier this year.
Yeah.
Um, I'm so glad I went back. It was so easy to listen to. It's
Was
very
it? Oh,
like
Snoop
smooth
Dogg
flow.
presents Death Row.
Yep, it was right after he
Bought Death
well,
Row.
not re-signed but bought
Do you
it.
think he's going, dude? I cannot wait to see what this Snoop Dogg led Death Row does. Because like
Yes.
the thing about Snoop that I really like is, there's a whole lot of rappers from his era that are just kind of like curmudgeons and like stuck in their way. Like I think about like Joe Budden,
Yeah.
the guy who we're like a dark reflection of because we're like his opposite. Uh,
Literally.
um, but like the people who stay relevant are the people who go with the times.
I was gonna say I feel
And
like
Snoop
they
Dogg, I think always has. I think that's a fair thing to say about him.
yep, they bring a unique experience to actually represent the culture, I feel like.
Yeah,
They're the more digestible versions of like that older rap that a lot of people still can like support and get behind because like they still have their old like swag in a sense where like they
yeah,
still act like they were from the 90s. They do certain things
yeah,
that are different. But it's much more digestible. It's interesting you could bring that to social media of a whole different like lifestyle or
yeah,
era of music.
yeah,
Um, I feel like he does it well. Lil Wayne does it pretty well. Ice Cube does it phenomenally.
yeah.
It's just like very certain people that stand out. They're
I
like
tell you,
important.
I don't regret not going because I saw Nine Inch Nails instead, but I do kind of wish I saw Ice Cube at Riot Fest.
I am shocked, Brandon. I'm so serious. I was so shocked he wasn't going.
Yeah, I mean, I love Ice Cube. Like Ice Cube's in my top 10 favorite rappers of all time, but Nine Inch Nails is in my top 5 favorite band.
I don't know if he's in the top 10 rappers, but he is like probably my top three writers.
He's so good at writing, dude.
So good.
Yeah. So like
Ridiculous.
we're gonna have to. I think like what we should do for 2023 is maybe like once a month do like something about like some old shit. Like start bringing that stuff in.
Yeah.
Just because like I feel like the format of our show and like the conversations we've always had, it just naturally biases towards what's happening right now. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Another album got teased in a much more erratic way this week.
Can you break this one down? Because you sent me some stuff, but I missed it. He like ended up deleting some
Yeah.
tweets.
Okay, so basically what happened is Kevin Abstract of Brockhampton went on a tweeting spree talking about their final album, which they announced after the Coachella show, where uh, and he said it was going to be called No Cap. Now today he tweeted that
Yep.
was a joke title.
Saw that.
You know. Now the thing that makes me think like, oh, there's act like yes, this is probably very trolly in the way Brockhampton releases always have been.
Hmm.
But I give it legitimacy because um it wasn't just Kevin tweeting about it. It was every member of Brockhampton, from the ones like Merlin, who's already seems eager to get out of that. Like he was like tweeting up a storm about it.
Hmm.
All the members were.
It's a
Uh
very, very unique kind of experience. I feel like since they broke up, it's I look at the band so differently.
yeah,
But it was nice to see them all like come together behind this.
yeah. And the thing is, like there was one tweet I sent you, and it was one of the ones he deleted.
Okay. I
And
didn't see it at all.
basically he said like a bunch of names for the album, and then
In terms of features?
no, a bunch of like potential names for the album.
Oh, okay, okay. Sorry. I
And
just got
then
really excited.
no. I am dot. That's the one thing is like I want to see more artists like work with Brockhampton and like well, uh,
Yeah.
but no, like other names for the album. And the
Okay.
one that he deleted all of them, and this one was retweeted by everyone in the group, or not everyone, but a good amount, was maturation.
Okay.
And I'm like,
Okay.
that would be the sickest fucking title for
Okay.
this. Like,
That would be pretty dope.
that would be the dopest, like, fucking
That
thing.
might be the one. Watch them actually do it though.
Yeah. But
Okay, that's actually pretty dope and
yeah,
exciting now.
yeah. So I'm excited. You know me. I absolutely love Brockhampton. I think they have one of the best runs in modern hip hop. I'll be listening.
It's interesting you said in modern hip hop. I didn't think about it that way. The other day, somebody said Lil Wayne had the best run of hip hop of all time, and I like was thinking really hard of who could have beat that. But now that you said modern, Brockhampton had a good run.
Yeah, Brockhampton had like when you consider how much stuff they released.
Yeah,
Uh,
in the time
yeah,
period.
like I think I full stop. I think they have two classics. You know,
Okay, I know Saturation too.
and
Let me
Ginger.
guess the second one. Okay, never mind. Never mind. I would have got
So
it wrong. I would
yeah.
have got it wrong. I was gonna say Iridescence.
Oh yeah, I do love Iridescence a lot, but I don't think it's quite a classic. Uh, but yeah, so big fan, super excited.
Should we get into unfortunately the
Dude,
biggest
I don't
news?
even want to fucking talk about this, but like it's a hip hop podcast. What the fuck do we have to do?
I bro, I literally was gonna open up with saying like I don't even want to cover this to be honest, but we have to. Um
Yeah,
Kanye
Kanye West
West
is tweeting again.
is
Like,
he is going rampant again. I don't know what the heck is going on,
yeah,
but he seemed fairly normal. There's little sporadic things over the last month where he would talk about fighting with his wife or something and where his kids are gonna go to school. Um and then this week, I forget which fashion show it was for, but some fashion show he hosted. He decided to wear a shirt that says "White Lives Matter" on the back of it. I don't think we need to describe how
yeah,
that could be
yeah. No,
problematic.
we don't have to. You know, as people who lived through 2020, probably the most realist way people can. Like,
Yeah.
we
Um,
don't gotta describe why what he did was fucking foul.
exactly. And that's already bad enough.
Also
But
working with fucking
yeah, I was
several
literally gonna say that was
several
just the start of it.
propagandists for some of the worst things in this fucking country.
Yep. I don't know how it escalated so quickly. I don't know all the details and everything he's done, but that was just the tip of the iceberg, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Things about working with Candace Owens and taking pictures there, doubling down on Instagram, pointing out people who are going against him, more stuff fighting Adidas. And now he's on, I don't even know his name. That's much I don't care. The Tucker Show, Carlson
Tucker
Tucker or something.
Carlson.
Exactly.
So,
He is
what do you
going to
know
be on
about
that
Tucker
show.
Carlson?
I know he is I'm trying to think of the official title, but regardless of that, he works for Fox News. He's one of the main interviewers.
He
I'm
has
assuming this
he has
is
the most popular news program in the country.
okay.
Yeah.
And I know it's
Uh,
conservative, obviously.
it's I think it's offensive to like most people who describe themselves as conservative. I think it's offensive to describe Tucker Carlson as conservative, and I say that as someone who hates conservative.
Okay,
Like,
how would you describe him?
I would
Because
describe
like I
him
said, I don't
as
know.
a white nationalist and a fascist.
Okay.
Like, I'm not saying that as like a, oh, this person's really really bad. I'm gonna say this word that like uh, that encapsulate, you know, that we all associate with really bad shit. No, I think like if you look at his politics and like what he believes and what he advocates for, you know, it is pretty down the line of like the 14 warning signs of fascism. And
Jesus.
I'll just put it this way, like I was watching this video with this guy who escaped his family who were part of the Ku Klux Klan, and they would watch Tucker's program twice, once to like laugh at it and enjoy it, and once to study it.
Jesus.
Members of the
Okay.
Ku Klux Klan. And
Didn't
now
even know that.
Kanye West is
It's going
going
to
on
be
the
on
show.
the
It's abjectly irresponsible. You know, like this is a. I'll keep it real.
I'm
Like,
concerned.
Yeah, I'm concerned. I'll keep it completely real and say, like, as political as I am, as much as this touches a nerve for me, because, like, I do like organizing and stuff to try to avoid some of this shit. Uh, I don't think being on Tucker Carlson is as bad as like stalking your ex-wife. The way he did, like in the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
but like it's concerning. Like this is a bridge, and this is not a healthy thing for him to be doing, and it is not a good thing for him to be doing. It is damaging. Now,
So
I also don't think he realizes not only the harm he's doing, but the fact that like he's a sideshow. The
correct.
people who watch Tucker Carlson don't give a shit about his music, don't give a shit about his fashion, don't give a shit about his genuine creative genius. They want to laugh at him and use the 3 seconds it takes for him to say the phrase "White Lives Matter," which he did say
Mm-hmm.
on air, by the way. Uh,
Yep.
he they want to use that to defend their arguments,
Of
uh,
course.
in order to defend the systems that are in play that marginalize black and brown across the country. So
Which is
I think
it's
it's
insane.
despicable.
I just feel like even he himself, I feel like he's starting to realize what's going on in the moment. I don't think he thinks things fully clearly through all the time. And so I feel like now some of the backflash or the pushback that's been going on, he started to like claim things about, oh, it's really to counteract BLM, the actual organization, and not the movement. But I just feel like that's really stupid in
That's
reality because if you're going against BLM, which I don't care.
the BLM organization is three fucking people. Anyone who talk, anyone who's like talking about the BLM organization is just using it as a smokescreen for their races. Like
Exactly.
there's absolutely asinine. What the fuck are you talking about? Level politics. Like,
Exactly. And I just feel like it's really stupid that it seems like he's almost trying to take a step back and then try to make it about like, oh, well, I was actually going against the organization. I was like, no,
no, you're
it
not.
doesn't
Like,
matter because if you're doing that, you have different ways of expressing this,
yeah,
or no, if that's what you want to do, whatever. I think it's dumb that you even want to do it, but if that's what you want to do, there's better ways to actually get that across, considering that how we take social media. You're specifically saying White Lives Matter, which is the direct counter of like the movement of Black Lives Matter.
yeah,
Nobody was posting Black Lives Matter to celebrate or defend or to bring up the organization. It's a movement. So you're saying that it's directly going like directly going against and countering the movement itself. So I just it's more frustrating the more you hear about it.
yeah. It is. It is just frustrating, and like honestly, at this point, it's like I don't have much enthusiasm to go back and listen to his music anymore.
It's the first time I think ever. Like I won't say like I've gone as far as like, oh, I'm removing his music. I'm not gonna lie, I did think about some of my Yeezys. But like this isn't the first time that he's had some ridiculous, almost political movement outcry using his publicity for it. He had the MAGA hat going to meet Trump. He had slavery was a choice.
Choice.
Slavery was a choice. This is now strike three saying white lives matter. In reality, Brandon, is Kanye untouchable? Is he really like? Do you think he can actually get canceled to the point where like people legit won't listen to his music?
Uh, I think it could be the beginning of the end.
Okay.
Because like I don't know. I feel like the mindset he's in is not conducive to making good art, and the people who are going to stick around are not going to stick around when the shit's bad now.
Hmm.
That's what I think.
Okay. I mean, and that makes sense. If he actually does put out something that's so bad,
Yeah,
like the art is
like
the art
down to two.
quality is exactly. If the actual quality of the art is now terrible because you're so brainwashed and thinking about other stuff.
Yeah.
Well, who's actually going to care anything about you? I
Yeah.
understand you might be mad at some fans because in reality, me myself, I use you for music. I don't care about your personality, from being honest, and I don't care about his personal life. I don't like his views on
Yeah.
many things, but
Yeah.
I like his music.
Yeah. I think like there's this idea of separating the art from the artist. And I don't like, people who run to like a yes or no answer to that, because the answer is like, you'll separate the art from the artist when you can.
Hmm.
Because I think the thing is with Kanye is that it's just getting so bad that it's becoming impossible to separate art from the artist. When he steals the mic from Taylor Swift, you know,
Which is
and
just a start.
like is reckless on Twitter, like yeah, sure, that shit's cringy. But My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy still bangs, but
Right.
like it becomes a lot harder to ignore those things, and especially like if that messaging starts coming across in the music.
Hmm.
Like even if it doesn't, I think this mindset is going to poison uh, his creativity, and I think like it'll do it slowly over time. But if he starts putting this messaging, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't care if it's the greatest song ever released. I'm not gonna listen to a song called "White Lives Matter" or some shit like that.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. Nice.
Uh, I would like to move on, but like
Yeah, I'm
I
kind
would
of.
like to move
Yeah,
on. I'll say
I'm
this
kind of
like
over it.
as a little tease to the conversation we're gonna have later. I think certain mindsets limit your creativity,
Okay.
and I think the more conservative the mindset, and not the only mindset, but I think the more conservative a mindset, uh, the more it's going to limit what you can do. It's Freddie Gibbs time.
It is drug season.
It is crack season. God, I love crack music. Uh,
um. Wow.
wow, wow is right.
You listened to it before me.
I did
You should
because
open it. You beat me.
okay, so the fucking crack Lord Sinatra, Freddie Gibbs, uh, he dropped his new album. It's called Soul Sold Separately, or SSS. It it's so good. Like it's kind of hard to describe because it's kind of straightforward in a way that most albums aren't nowadays. Now there is a
Yeah.
concept. It appears to be like about a night in a hotel, but like I don't know. This is something I wanted to ask you. Like, what did you think of the the concept? Like all the voicemails, the world building that kind of goes through it. Because like on one end, it is just like very playlistable hardcore hip hop songs.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, like it all ties together, and there are some out of left field names that show up.
Out of left field is a great way to put it. I will say the first time I listened to it, I didn't pay much attention to like the voicemails. Um, I understood the like idea behind having all these other people kind of featured on it, different celebrities
Yeah,
and people playing roles that are like just telling these outlandish stories about
yeah,
Freddie Gibbs.
yeah.
Um, I I didn't really pay attention at first, but I will say every time I listen to this album, Brandon, I find something else. And when I kind of understood the concept of him being in this hotel slash casino and like hiding out there and like inviting all these people there, telling different experiences and like somebody playing to be God, it's a dope album.
Dude, it's a
It's a
really dope
dope
album.
concept.
Yeah,
It really is.
it really like it's a dope concept. It's very straightforward. It's not overly conceptual. Uh, and it really is just song to song. It just fucking hits. It
Hmm.
just really does. There's a good amount of features, some like really exciting names, but really it's Freddie front and center. So,
I guess I should ask. Well, you just mentioned the features. What features did you like the most?
okay, so the one that's Moneybag Yo's feature, I really
Yep,
loved. Like,
so good.
Too Much is incredible, dude.
Hmm.
Holy shit. Also, Too Much and Lobster Omelet, that 1-2 punch, because like the way the beats flip into each other,
Hmm.
absolutely incredible. Just pure gangster rap. That's what it feels like, really.
Honestly, you just mentioned something that I forgot to do. I didn't look up the producers. You just mentioned how the flows and the beats are flowing together, and I
Yeah,
love the production on this. I
yeah, I
hadn't
do.
looked up who was responsible.
The third time I listened to it, I've listened most of it was like on the screen, so I was like following along with the producers. Like another
Hmm.
highlight for me is Blackest in the Room, the second track, produced by The Alchemist.
Hmm.
But like it's The Alchemist and Freddie Gibbs, right? Like that,
It's a classic duo.
yeah, that's what else can you ask for? Like what is there? But it seems like Harmony Samuels is like someone who's like really, really heavily featured. Boy the One on Space Rabbit. Obviously, Anderson Paak feature is helped with
Such a
production.
good song. Such a good song.
Such a good song, absolutely. And like the other thing is, I love how this album is dynamic. Like there are slower, more contemplative songs. It is
Hmm.
not just because I do think some of like Pinata, even as good as it is, right? Like it kind of is just like dope selling money, like for dope selling music for like 30-40 minutes.
Yes.
Uh, Same with Alfredo, but this like there are some other vibes. Like there are some more reflective songs. There are some songs that talk about other topics, and to be honest, I'm talking about PYS,
Hmm.
and that's probably the weakest song in the album for me, just because like I don't know, I just think like those over the top raunchy songs are just like
Too much.
it just
Yeah.
it always just is like okay, like
But it was one thing that stands out because you're mentioning like it has a very wide range in terms of topics. One thing that I was shocked about, I didn't catch it to my third listen because like it kind of flowed with it when I once you get to the later part of the album. But Grandma Stove covers a lot of really personal things.
yeah, yeah, and like
It
yeah, like
I
it's
just
almost
feel
like
like,
this album is a deconstruction of like the character of Freddie Gibbs. You know?
yeah, honestly, it does a really good job of telling a story about him. Because if I'm being honest, Freddie Gibbs is not someone that like I look up often or like I know a lot about his personal life and things like that. So actually hearing the stuff in the music and how it stands out,
Yeah,
how he deals with some of his daily troubles is pretty dope. It's
yeah.
pretty dope.
Like I consider myself a relatively big Freddie Gibbs fan, and yeah, like I listen to his music a lot, but I don't know his life story like I do Kid Cudi's or Childish Gambino's.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
It's
just
just something that does stand out, I
maybe it's
guess.
because like he just reads is so real.
Hmm. That is true.
Uh,
He'll never give you a fake version of himself.
no, yeah. Uh, Fuck man. And I gotta say, the most depressing thing is him talking about how this might be his last album.
So I missed that. Where did he say all this?
He
He said
said
he's
it in an
done.
interview. I don't know exactly. I'll pull it up right now.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, okay, I can't find it right now. But
Hmm.
yeah, he said like, "Oh, this could be my last album." I saw it going around on Twitter and stuff, and fuck, man, like from
And that would
2014,
suck.
yeah, from 2014 to now, like full stop. I think this dude kept like hardcore hip hop and gangster rap alive.
Honestly, so you just made me think about two things. The first one is speaking of like gangster hip hop and how he has been a staple in it. This is definitely one of the top leaders in it.
He, he
Is
he's the flag bearer for it.
That's what I'm saying. Do you ever compare? Do you think they're in the same lane, or who's better, Pusha T and Freddie Gibbs? I never really just sat down and really thought about how much they have in common in terms of like the music, the
Yeah.
subjects, things like that. I've always thought Push T was like the face.
To me, like, I think Pusha T. To me, like, I almost feel like Pusha T is he's like 60% artist, 40% real, and like Freddie
Okay.
Gibbs is like 60% real, 40% artist. As opposed to someone like 21 Savage who's like 90%.
Right.
You know, but then again, I don't know. Like, I'm not questioning fucking Freddie Gibbs' gangster.
No, yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
interesting to bring up. I
Yeah,
didn't
no,
think
it
about
is
it that way.
interesting. I think the thing is that like when you just look at Freddie Gibbs and Pusha T's style, I think, and not even to consider who they put themselves around.
That's the biggest point.
I
That's
think
exactly what I was going to bring
I
up.
think Pusha T is just a bit more of a mainstream guy.
He's more marketable,
You
and
know,
he puts himself in a circle that is more in the mainstream
and
than
when you
Freddie
when you
Gibbs.
think about it, like, look, both of them, all their albums loved by fans, praised by critics,
Yeah.
but one is just bigger. You know, and it's just that's just the way it goes. And like to me, I think they represent like the I think they're the two best like in that subject.
Oh yeah. No
You know,
question. I
and they
think they're
feature
both
on each
like
other all
up
the
there.
time, so they gotta like each other.
He was featured in his album.
Yeah. What did you think of the push? Gold Rings, I think, is one of the better songs
Mhm.
on the album. Obviously,
Very, very, very good.
I'll
Very,
be
very good.
honest. Like when I started this album, I'm like, I'm gonna listen to Gold Rings first, and then I started.
I'm gonna skip everything.
I'm gonna listen to Gold
um,
Rings right now, and then I'm gonna listen to everything else. Like,
and then once I finish, I'm gonna go listen to It's Almost Dry.
yeah,
Do you think one was better than the other? Is it too hard to tell so far?
I definitely think.
Because remember, we were heavy,
I
heavy on
I
It's
love
Almost
It's
Dry.
Almost Dry. Yeah, I
We talked about that nonstop.
I definitely think right now my instinct is just to say It's Almost Dry is better.
Okay.
But fuck, man, it is difficult.
The reason I want to force an answer out of you because we were just talking about top five. We're gonna have to decide top five hip hop albums, and this is it's knocking on the door. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely knocking on my door. I think there's another dynamic though, and I think this is something that yeah, because I talked about last week how I did a lot of like listening to Denzel Curry and Jid. It's
Hmm.
obviously like two of the front runners for album of the year this year. And I think like a dynamic that like gets ignored when you flatten music down to a rating, whether that be Fantano's rating, whether that be our rating. Uh I think like something we just ignore is the idea of growth, right?
Hmm.
And you talk about someone like a Pusha T, like a Kendrick Lamar, like a Freddie Gibbs, their albums are less Pusha T and Freddie Gibbs, I feel like they're more refinements. They know their sounds. They're just trying to do that sound better and better and better.
Hmm.
You know, whereas someone like Denzel, someone like Jid, they're still trying to get as best as they can be. So they're growing, they're experimenting, and I think like you just interface with those two different kinds of artists differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously like artists can change, they can ebb and they can flow.
That's a very insightful way to look into it. I didn't even think about it that way because
You
that's
know,
something Jid was just talking about in an interview. I think it was a Genius interview, and he was saying when he made the song, like what's we couldn't stop singing the song. Now I can't think about it.
Dance
Dance
Now.
Now. When he made the song Dance Now, he was saying, I just wanted to try something out. He literally said it wasn't my normal style, but he was listening to an old Tyler the Creator song. He couldn't even remember what the song was, but he said he had like a growl in his voice when he was rapping. He was like, I was in the studio and I was like, I'm gonna try it. Like I want to try something new. So it's very interesting that you bring that up. That's perfect time with what I was saying in some of his interviews where he's saying like I just want to expand. I want to do as much as I can because I can. if you have the talent, why not bring all these flows and styles together?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And like, yeah, I just think like when you're looking at an artist, you know, who has just how does a Kendrick Lamar album get better? It doesn't. It
it,
doesn't. It just doesn't. Like what it can
you
be is
can't.
what it can be is
You literally
different.
can't.
Yeah, what it can be is
Right.
different. You know, what it can be is, you know, and that's kind of like where I'm landing on Mr. Morale this year. Is like, yeah, like it's incredible. It's this incredible piece of work. Better to Pimp a Butterfly or Good Kid, Mad City. It kind of seems like all these things are equal in quality, and they're just about different subjects.
Right. And they're presented in
You
different
know, and
ways.
like, yeah, sure, we have our favorites. The same way that like we have our favorite Tarantino movies, but I think the point is that he's a master of his craft,
Hmm.
and like, unlike someone like Denzel or Jid, where like as good as they've always been, you can see that growth.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
They're
like,
still getting better.
and like that's the thing I thought was very interesting about Jid is like how consistently good his backlog is, while
And
also
then just
but
bam.
also like how obviously better the Forever Story is.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
just
like
it's a big chunk.
you know, like it's a big jump in quality, even though he's always been good.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, I definitely think, and I definitely think this falls more into that. This is refinement. You know, maybe a little wider because, as I say, it's a little bit more of a dynamic album. Uh, but I don't think this is breaking the Freddie Gibbs sound. I just think it's a more interesting version of it, as opposed to like those other kind of albums we're talking about.
What's interesting that you just brought that up, because I was actually going to bring this up earlier. So this is just kind of, let's say this is refinement because he's known, he's got his style, he's just getting a little bit cleaner at it. If he's saying this is the last one, he's not the only artist to say things like this recently.
Yeah,
Kid Cudi said he's almost done.
yeah.
We have a couple different artists coming up saying like, who knows if I'll make another album. If it comes out, it comes out. Are we coming across like another generational gap? Like so many people, I feel like are leaving,
You know,
and I feel like they can't expand anymore.
I don't know. I feel like that's just something people say.
Okay.
And on the other hand, though, and we talked about this today a bit, I think that what they might be doing is they just might have other creative interests that they want to pursue. And when you do that, it's just, you just can't keep making music like that. If
Hmm.
I have a conspiracy theory that I think Freddie Gibbs is trying to get into comedy now. Because, like, Jeff Ross is on this album, Joe Rogan's on this album. He's doing, like, I've sent you that video of him doing an actual stand up set.
Hmm.
Uh, and, I don't think it's impossible that that's where his creative energy is going now. Kid Cudi is producing movies and acting and doing all that shit. I just think that's where their interests are going. And God bless them, but, like, can't help but not be upset.
All right. Should we do the grade then?
Yeah, let's do the grade. What are you giving it?
I still got to listen a couple more times, but I want to say B plus.
I gotta listen a couple more times before like if I'm gonna give it anything solid, but I'm thinking A minus.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
we're
thinking
around the
A
same
minus.
area then.
Yeah, A minus. Yeah, I
I
really
think
really
once I
quite
listen to it some more, yeah.
I like it quite a bit.
I it's impressive how much it's jumped on me because unfortunately I was listening to other music this week and catching up on stuff. I only listened to the Freddie Gibbs two and a half, almost three times. And each time I listened to a song, it did get significantly better.
And I don't know about you,
Um,
but like it's certainly an album where it's like, oh shit, I'm gonna listen to this right now. I'm
yeah,
like hungry
yeah,
to listen to it.
yep, 100%. So right now, be minimum, like minimum, and then
Yeah,
I can only see it going up.
yeah. I definitely
All right,
feel that.
cool.
All right. So, shall we talk about the centerpiece of this episode, our
Oh
follow
yeah,
up to 3 weeks ago when we talked about Metallica's "Ride the Lightning"?
Yes, we decided to make it a little series. It's actually been a lot of
This
fun.
is a lot of fun. Yeah. I
It honestly
also,
has been.
I'll be honest. I already know exactly what I'm gonna do next time we do this.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I
Okay, I got to think about it.
Yeah, just because it's a band I've already sent you a song to, and it was years ago, but I remember you texting me being like, "Yo, this song is incredible." Like,
Okay, okay, but I'm excited.
yeah,
But I mean, it's a dope concept. I love it. So 3 weeks ago, Brandon had me listen to a heavy metal album. If you know me, I do not listen to heavy metal in the slightest or any sense, and it was actually very enjoyable. We had a pretty good discussion. I think I learned a lot about the album and the genre in general.
yeah.
And so now this week we will be doing gospel. Um, this
Which,
isn't new to you, so I mean, do you want to speak about your initial thoughts on gospel?
yeah. So, like, here's the thing. Like, I think it's kind of hard to live in America and not have some cursory understanding of gospel.
Hmm.
But the thing is, like, I was raised Catholic, and we just don't have that shit. We just don't do fucking gospel songs. Like we, our songs are in Latin, and played almost exclusively on the piano. We did not get a singer in the church until about 2017. So, yeah,
And that's just culture, I'm assuming.
that's just
That's
culture.
just
Yeah,
the way it is.
that's just being a Catholic. You know, the other thing is that like when you're a Catholic, not a lot more often than other sects, and also I'm not a Catholic. I'm an atheist, but I was raised Catholic.
You're
Uh,
like, let me clear this up real quick.
Yeah, but I was raised Catholic. I live in a Catholic family, and I am not so atheist that I'm annoying about it. Uh,
No, you're not. You really aren't.
yeah, like I don't believe, but like I'm not gonna argue with my parents when I can just go for an hour. You know, that's the other thing is that Catholic mass is 45 minutes to an hour, so it's like not as bad.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Uh, but I've always had an interest in it because, like, you know, I don't think anyone can deny that there's just something uniquely interesting about the human voice. And I think gospel puts the human voice front and center in a way that like no other genre I'm really familiar with does.
Hmm.
Because think about like, you know, hip hop, so much of it is the producer. And so much of it is the lyrics too.
Right. The lyrics
Uh
more than anything.
you know, you listen to rock, whether we're talking about like the anything from the Rolling Stones up to Metallica, you know, you have all those instruments, and like as you learned, sometimes the instruments do more talking than the people.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
this
It's
it seemed
interesting.
like it was all down to the performance. It was all down to like how people were. I don't want to just say performing, but like it kind of feels like when you have this raw emotion that comes with belief and faith and that
That's the
feeling
key
of a
word.
higher power, it just lets you drive to like this insane place of performance, you know?
It's very, very true. Building off that, like that was a great start to the conversation, especially with the performance piece, because the gospel is weird for me because I can go on about gospel for hours because it's like it's hard to separate the genre from the religion.
Yeah,
Obviously, gospel is very tied to Christianity,
yeah,
especially within the Black community. There's no separating the two. Music is such an important part in the industry and the structure of what a church is,
yeah.
and
And
it's
even artists who have brought that sound like to brought that to a mainstream sounds, they always bring that with it.
that is straight facts. Like the most popular one is Kanye West that we were just talking about him earlier.
Yeah,
The interesting thing about Kanye West in his beginning music, he used his voice as an instrument, and like that's literally a saying in the church. You use your voice as an instrument, and like you sing to God, and it's so important. Where you mentioned it's like it's a performance. Like you literally are praising God because it's gospel, and so it's true. When you're in the moment, when you're in a choir, I feel like a lot of people who grew up in church, especially in the Black community, you everyone has that moment. You just you're in the choir, you're feeling it one day. the song hits, you start crying, and like next thing you know, you just
Yeah. And like
you're there.
that's just always been a part of human culture, you know. I
Right.
think that's where art comes from. Art comes from this desire to appease a deity and to do something beautiful, and that's the genesis of it. I think
Mm,
that is the beginning, and obviously there's other things. But yeah, like there just is that element to it of just like it's about that belief and about bringing that level of faith in your beliefs to your performance. And you
hmm
can hear it on everything. And especially listening to it like on Tidal with like the good headphones. And I believe
Man,
this was
I couldn't imagine.
you can hear like the level of performance in like every voice because like you hear these
It's like you're
chorus
there.
hits
Yeah.
and it's not something that is you know, it's not one voice. It might only be like a second or like a fill for like that specific passage of music, but
Mm.
not uh it's not singular, and you can hear like every voice, and you can hear every voice striving for that level of performance. It really is breathtaking. And like I'll say this, like musically on this, I really fucked with it. I
Okay.
really
I,
thought like the music was sonically just like delectable. Like it was just a feast for the ears. And
I'm actually so glad to hear that,
yeah.
man.
Now I do have some thoughts. Like
Okay.
but another thing is like once again, like I'm not only a atheist, but I'm also highly political. And I also
hmm
understand how there are statements made on this album on the first track uh that just like reflect a mindset and a worldview that like probably the people who like listen to this most people who listen to this album wouldn't even define as political, you
hmm
know, like when he talks about uh there's a line in it that, and I'll just say this, like my least favorite song in the entire album is that opening song.
I gave you a warning. I literally when I sent you this
Believe it or
when
not,
I,
I did not even recognize
the line?
the incredibly mild homophobia. Like
Okay.
I'll be honest, like there's worse homophobia in this Freddie Gibbs album.
There is
Like
worse homophobia
so
in the
like
Freddie
it didn't
Gibbs.
really bother me
Okay,
that
you
much.
got a good point. You do have a good point.
Like I recognize it's there and I don't like it because I think homophobia is universally bad, no matter how
hmm
small. But it's kind of a small line. The thing that bothered me more about it was like the worldview. It's like they kept talking about like, oh, this black and white worldview. It's like you're either right or you're not. And it's like, nope, that is just not how the world works. That is how a child thinks the world works.
Yeah.
Uh and you know, it just gets down to like this idea that like there's a worldview, this fatalistic like black and white worldview that I just think is like I think it's the equivalent of like believing in Santa Claus. And like
I, I understand that point of
and
view. Honestly, I do.
and another thing is I want to make this very clear. That worldview that we're talking about, not exclusive to religion, not exclusive to Christianity by any stretch.
Oh yeah, like everything. No, I
But
understand. I
yeah,
understand what you're saying.
but I do think religion makes very fertile ground for that for those ideas. So
Right.
that was the thing that like kind of put me off on the wrong foot.
Okay. And
Uh,
honestly, if that was the thing, that is completely understandable. That's
yeah,
probably the biggest um like negative sense I would say the gospel and just religion in general because they're so hard to like be
yeah,
separated. I did give you a forewarning. I was like this I know there's gonna be moments and I was going through like artists to listen to.
yeah,
I chose, and I guess we haven't even said the name of the album, but I chose the album Standout by Tye Tribbett. I chose this because it is a lot more focused on actual the performance and the music, and I wanted to give you a good quality. But there is so much other gospel out there. I was talking to some of my cousins about this, but like there's Marvin Sapp, there's Fred Hampton, Kirk Franklin, everyone knows, the
yeah,
Williams, Mary BBCC. There's a whole list of people and like I didn't want to pick something that was overly focused on religion itself because I
Yeah.
want to give you like a good experience here.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, like you go into a gospel album, it's like, yeah, there's going to be
Surprise
religion.
God is there.
Yeah, like there's a saying about Metallica. It's like you don't listen to Metallica and tell them to turn the fucking music down. That's what it's for. It's the same thing in my response. Like, like you
It is
don't.
very close, yeah.
Yeah, you don't go to a gospel album and complain about the scripture bleeding into the music. That's what it's for, you know. And the other thing that I want to point out is that I don't think those ideas come through on the rest of the album, like specifically.
In terms of which ideas are you referring
Just like
to?
that very black and white fatalistic mindset.
Oh, I see. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I
yes.
don't think. I think my biggest criticism of the album is the guy who's like the head, like the lead guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's a very charismatic performer. I'm sorry. I don't think.
Oh, really?
Not really. I think the people. I think the music, the arrangement, all that shit, top tier. And I'm sure he's
Everything
doing
that
shit,
comes together.
and the way it all comes together, I just don't think he's a particularly interesting performer.
Oh, okay. I mean, honestly, I respect that. I don't think I've ever seen him live, and there's definitely a lot of bigger names where like.
My girlfriend saw him live, apparently.
So what did she say? I remember you mentioning that she said she actually heard this album before.
She likes some gospel music. She actually was like, "Oh, I'm gonna sit in and like listen," and I'm like, "You're only gonna hear half the episode because like you're not gonna hear what Purvis says."
Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
But she's just like, she just grew up in the culture. And another thing is that she's like, I still really love the Christmas albums. She mentioned a female singer. The name's escaping me. I'll text it to you.
Okay.
But apparently she was at a conference where this guy performed live. And like, look, I don't think he's awful. He's no Nav. But like,
just gonna sneak that in there.
but yeah, no, I think I don't know if he's the guy putting the music together, but if he is, he's doing an incredibly good job with that. And look, there were a lot of songs on this that I liked quite a bit.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
Let's jump into that because I was going to ask that you take notes of which one stood out.
I did. I took extensive notes. Now I will say it's a 15-track album, and I'll say this: one, generally dislike the longer songs because I do think like the thing about, from what I can tell, with like gospel, because I'm kind of comparing it to Ride the Lightning in a way, and I'm like, what do these very opposite things have in common, and where are their differences? And I think the thing they have in common is they have a sense of scale. It just sounds huge, right?
Massive.
The choir, the band on Metallica for Metallica, it just sounds massive in a way that like hip hop, R&B, pop, even like most rock music doesn't sound. And I thought that sense of scale, I genuinely love. I love things that sound like these massive collections of humans. So that I thought was great. I thought the sense of scale is the thing I thought was different. Is I think like a lot of these songs, like they had like really unique instrumentation and interesting aesthetics, but and when they were 3-4 minutes long, it was like, okay, that's cool, but they don't really switch it up a whole lot. Like towards the back, there's a whole lot of like 6-minute songs on this album, and they sound very samey. And I get that that's probably part of it. I get that like it's the intention of it to be in a congregation is going to impact the length.
Very true. The repetition, the message.
But I also can't fight the way I'm listening to it. Like I'm listening to it. Admittedly very high quality, but like in headphones on my computer. Like
I was gonna say, obviously, like the in-person experience would be very different.
Yeah.
Where like the time just kind of moves differently, the impact of the musicians live, etc.
And
Um,
I would absolutely see this. I would see
I
this
literally,
live. Yeah,
I
I
was
would.
literally gonna say, Isaac was like, "Why don't we just invite him to church?" I was like, "Trust me, I'm trying to get him
I'm not a
in."
morning person. Is the main thing. I also don't drive. Uh, uh,
But even still, I understand like wanting to see this live. It does add to the impact of the song.
yeah,
I feel like gospel in general, it was tricky picking the album as well because it's more focused on the genre than just like an album. Like the album doesn't necessarily have like a concept besides like it's a religious album. So
yeah,
I just wanted to like give you that large scales of music.
yeah,
But like you said, the later half, I'm looking at it now. I didn't consider this. For me, when I went back to like choose album and I listened to this album, I have already a pre-built in mindset and memories already like in line where like I was listening to the album in the car and I literally had to like almost pull over because I was getting so into the music because like I remember the first time hearing it. It reminds me of other things that I've been through in my life in church.
yeah,
Whereas if you're not normally in that setting, there is like four songs that are like 7 minutes long.
yeah. No, I understand that. Like in church, it's a lot longer. It's just
Right.
that when you're listening to it and you're judging it as like a 6 minute track on title. You know.
Exactly.
Now, what are your favorite songs? Because I'll say like mine right now. Uh,
Okay.
I Need You,
Okay.
absolutely one of my favorites. All Hail the King, I love the horns.
Hmm.
Look Up and Bless the Lord, I thought were an incredible 1-2 punch.
Yep.
Uh, So Amazing, I think the music on So Amazing is incredible, but I also think it's an example of what I'm talking about, where like this feels very repetitive. It is kind of difficult for me to listen to this all the way through because like
It's almost like a hymn or something like
it's a
that.
hymn. It's exactly a
Yeah.
hymn. It's
Yep.
something. Yeah, it's not something you're meant to listen to in headphones. Like
Very true.
you know,
Very
and
true.
uh, what was the other one that I really liked? Oh, another thing I thought was interesting was I did not expect to hear so much rock influence.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, even though Prodigal Son, I don't think pulls it off.
Okay.
I think it just comes across a little, hey kids, like overly try hard. And also like when you look at like the intentions of gospel, all that, it just kind of comes across a little weird. But I will say this: Let Us Worship also has like a pretty heavy rock vibe to me. I think
It
it
has a
pulls it off
very heavy rock file.
pulls
Yeah.
it off way better in my opinion.
Yes.
Uh,
Significantly better.
yeah,
It's true.
definitely much better. Not only that, not only like on its own, but in bringing in that rock element.
Hmm.
Uh, I note He Has Made Me Glad, and I Made It Through. I noted sounded incredible, but they just got so samey.
That you have some amazing notes.
Yeah,
Everything you're saying is like it's spot on.
yeah.
Everything you're saying is spot on. If
Chasing
I'm being
After
honest.
You.
Hmm.
Uh, I actually think is probably the best song on the album. I
Okay.
think it's an absolutely incredible love song. I would not even have thought that it was gospel. No, let me take that back. I would not have thought it was religious.
Right. Right.
Uh,
It's funny you say that because a lot of love R&B and gospel like literally are the same
yeah,
songs.
and like I think I definitely think like there is. It seems like there is a pull to like when things you think of something like a very wholesome love song, you know, there is room for that to be secular and still have that gospel sound,
Hmm.
and that's something I'm wondering is like, do you, as someone who clearly prefer, would it be safe to say you prefer secular music?
It's tough to say. Um, man, because the thing is, like, gospel is so ingrained in like literally,
Your life.
I'm not even gonna say gospel. Religion is. I'm a pastor's kid. Like, it's a very straightforward like description of how my life went growing up. I went to church every week. I was born and raised, and I hear it every week, whether I like it or not. And like I will say the impact and enjoyment of it in the moment, I will 100% say gospel music 10 times out of 10. It just hits differently because it has that tie to religion. I will literally start breaking down crying in the middle of church for no reason
Yeah.
because of like the impact with it. Now, what I would say casually listening, just like on a day-to-day basis, it is difficult listening to grand scales of music, just like
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah. And yeah, I totally agree. Now, do you have a desire to see gospel have more of a place in a context where like religion is just not there, like a more secular version of
to,
it?
to be honest, no.
Yeah.
And that's like that's my conservative religious way of speaking it because one thing that you did bring up, and trust me, I understand. This album does very much focus on a very black and white concept because in religion is like you make it to heaven or you don't. It's a very straightforward thing.
I don't think that's
But-
true.
well,
Because there's purgatory, you can like pay off your debts for thousands of years.
okay, that I will give you. I won't say like in all beliefs. I'll give you that. But I feel like at least for the most part in a lot of religions is like you make it to heaven and then like there's option A is like obviously you want to make it to heaven.
Yeah.
And then there's option B. And so you want like ideally if you're religious you want option A.
Yeah.
And so this album does kind of focus on like that very black and white concept and there's a reason to it. It's just because it's so tied into not just religion, but a certain sector of Christianity, of like a lot of, and I don't want to overgeneralize in saying this, but like a lot of black Christians that grew up in like, especially the southern churches, it is a very black and white world. If you ask my parents, it's a very black and white world.
Yeah.
Well, not black and white world, but in terms of religion, like you either you make it to heaven or you don't. Um, which it's their beliefs. It is what it
Yeah.
is. And so it's hard to say like I want it to not be religious, but I will say I wanted to incorporate other genres into it. And so that's one thing I wanted to go over with you. The last song, it's technically a hip hop
I got
gospel
thoughts.
album.
I got thoughts about this song.
Okay, perfect. So the last song is literally a hip hop gospel album. This is like why we would bring it up on a podcast. Um, I don't like this song, if
No,
I'm being
neither do I.
honest.
I don't think
Okay.
I don't think it's the worst song in the album.
Okay.
Uh, I don't even think like even ignoring the fact that like the first song is like
Hmm.
real bad. Like not even real bad, but like
You
another
don't
thing.
agree with it.
Not only that, but I do think sonically it's pretty weak. Like compared to
Okay,
the rest
yeah,
of the
yeah,
album.
yeah.
Like there is
Yeah.
a lot of good stuff on this album. And like especially going back my second time, it's like not only is this silly, it's like not as good. And I think that's fair.
Yes.
I don't think this is I don't think it's corny because once again it's a gospel album. You got to adjust what you're looking at.
Hmm.
But from the outside looking in, there's a perception I have of people who make gospel music. And not just and like the black church gospel music that we're talking about now. Not so much them, more like people who make like overtly like Christian country music.
Hmm.
But I don't think it's necessarily like invalid. But like there's a perception of like you're only doing this because you couldn't make it in the real, I think about like Christian comedians. It's like some Christian comedians or conservative comedians, it's like very obvious that like the reason why they have that angle, the reason why they're, a quote unquote insert quote with whatever you want, comedian or artist, is because they couldn't make it just on their own. They needed to appeal to a fan base that's just going to buy in based on something from outside. And
Interesting.
so that's a perception I have of kind of like all religious music.
That's very interesting.
And like once again, like I've always felt like, well, like the gospel that we're talking about, like it's a little bit different, but this feels like that. This feels like, look, it's not bad, but like this feels very much like, oh, this guy this guy would rather just be a rapper. Like it feels like, you know, if this guy did not have to rap about God to sell albums, I don't think he would.
You know, Brandon,
Now,
you opened up something new to me. I'm be honest. I've never really considered that.
yeah.
Not saying like it's impossible.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Now, like, look, I stand by this. Like in this specific example, there's 14 tracks before this one that prove me wrong. I was like,
Okay.
I think those tracks stand on their own creatively, at least on a musical and a performance level.
Hmm.
So, you know, obviously this is perception. I don't know if it's truth in this case, but that's a perception I just have of people who make religious art in general. Is like, you know, I'm very skeptical of them being sellouts. And the other thing is that, like, the reality is that, like 50% of people who like make the religious music I've interfaced with in my life, they are sellouts. And like 40% are zealots, like people who are, you know, up their own ass with religion.
Okay.
And then there's 10% of people who's like, oh no, this is just who they are. Like,
Generally, I'm made to make
you
gospel
know, and like
music.
in my mind, like I was always like, yeah, and that 10% is all black people.
That I I will not take that away from you. It
Yeah.
probably is true.
But yeah, that's kind of my
That's
feeling on
very
it. It's
interesting.
kind of corny. It kind of raises some red flags, but like it's not bad and it doesn't ruin the album.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like that. And I guess I should ask then, in your own opinion, how do you feel like if because you mentioned is it something that I wanted? How do you feel like gospel could fit within other genres?
You know, I think like if you just bring in the music of it, like I think the idea of a choir is very underused in music. Like, do you imagine if like fucking Jid had a choir on Cody Blue 31?
I was literally about to say he had a kids choir on Money,
Yeah, but like I
but
think
like
I think you would agree. I think it's an underused tool.
I had to use the example of Kanye, even though I'm kind of sick of him right now. But like Kanye brought in
Yeah,
like
that whole thing.
gospel choir music. His voice was an instrument. It was like a known thing. And
Yeah.
so, without saying him or focusing on him, do you do you know any other artists that actually make like songs with choruses? It's like
Uh
nobody.
oh, Big Crit has like half an album with it.
Okay, Big
Yeah.
Crit is from Mississippi, respect. So
Yeah.
that's not
Uh
surprised.
but yeah, like, and you know, maybe just because like most of the music I consume is more secular, I
Hmm.
think another level to that is I think a lot of where you see that kind of music comes out in like soul.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
But yeah, no, it, there are definitely elements of gospel music that I would love to hear incorporated. But the thing is that like there are elements of gospel music that like I just would rather not interface with ever. Like
In terms of elements, are you referring to like the ones you were faced with that are more heavy on like the religious side, or
just the talking points.
okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, yeah.
I don't think it's unfair to say that like gospel music can be preachy. Like
Gospel music is extremely preachy. It's the
because it's
purpose of it.
literally
So yeah,
preaching.
you're not
Like
wrong. Yeah, I was about to say it's literally preaching.
yeah.
It's the one thing that actually I wanted to bring up because I feel like in gospels, particularly, it's very different. Um, I know sometimes in rock it can be kind of political at times, but like that's not the focus, you know?
It sometimes is,
It's
but yes, you're right.
right. It's just like I don't really think of politics when you think of rock, but like you're gonna think of religion when you think of gospel.
Yeah.
Is there any other genre that has such a deeply involved in like such a serious topic involved with it? I
You,
feel like
you know,
you
like
can't separate it.
I think when you talk about rock music and their connection to politics, I agree. I think if you were to talk about hip hop and its inherent connection to politics,
Hmm.
yeah, I think that's a little bit more compelling. Like
Okay.
a whole lot of stuff, like a whole lot of hip hop music that like the average listener would not identify as political. They would only do that because they lack a lot of political education.
Okay.
I think of stuff like Straight Outta Compton, which,
Yeah.
yeah, he's not talking about Democrats and Republicans, but they're talking about conditions created by systems designed by politicians. So it's
Yeah.
inherently political.
Right.
Uh,
It's just built into it.
and I also think, and this might be a cop out, but I also think it might be the most interesting answer. Um, I think there's like a human need to express yourself that is as deep in us as religion. And I think that comes out in all forms of dance music. And maybe that's the next one. Whether we're talking
Hmm.
about shit like EDM, house, or like going as far back as the waltz. I think this idea to like participate with our fellow man in this way uh, is just deeply ingrained in us.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's probably my
That's very
my
profound.
very
Okay.
navel gazing answer.
No, yeah, that was good. That was good. Um. Okay. Well,
So
I guess.
I want you to give the grade first because I feel very uncomfortable grading this because it's like if I've only ever seen like one movie, it's like yeah, of course I'm gonna see like if
Very
the
true.
only heist movie I've ever seen was Heat, I'd be like Heat's probably my favorite heist movie. Like
It's difficult
yeah,
giving a grade. I will say.
because I'm leaning at like a C plus.
Okay. What I was gonna say for in terms of consumption with music, for me personally, I need something that's easily digestible because I'm always moving, I'm always changing up, and I have a very large range of different types of music. Um, with that being said, a lot of gospel is not very easy to listen to. The reason behind it is because of how religious based it is. And so if I'm constantly listening to music that's telling me I'm sinning or doing XYZ improperly, it's not easy to digest. But this album significantly less focused on that, I think, in relation to some of the other gospel that I grew up with. That
I
is
definitely
in a
agree.
very,
I don't think
yeah,
this album is preachy.
no, not at all. It does a very good job. I told you from the jump, when you told me you weren't going to give me any kind of demonic heavy metal, I was like, I am not going to give you a preachy album.
Yeah,
Like I need to do that justice.
yeah,
So with that being said, this is rated significantly higher to me because this is something that I can literally bang out in my car on the way to
yeah.
work, and I will be okay. And I'm okay with it. And I've played it to video games and everything. With that being said, I would personally give it like a A minus or a B plus, just because of how well it does to translate into my actual life without me feeling like overbearing.
That's interesting. All right,
But you said C plus.
I said C plus, just because
Okay.
like as much as I appreciated a lot of the songs, it's an hour and a half, and probably half an hour of that I was kind of bored.
Okay.
Just because like a half hour of that is like the back half of like half the songs.
Yes,
You
it's
know?
true. One thing I was actually going to bring up earlier when you said it, the latter or the last part of the album, the ending songs are so long because they all have something like it's a praise break in them,
Yeah,
and so it's like it's built into it. I made it through is the longest song of the album. It's my favorite song of the album because the last like 3 minutes is literally just a praise break. When
yeah.
I went back to this album, I was literally like making my head in my car. Like instead I had to pull over, I'm serious. Like
Yeah.
so if you don't really have that praise break
I don't even know
aspect
what a
into
praise
it,
break is. This is my first time hearing that
exactly.
phrase. Uh,
So, like, all the meme videos that are always on the internet with like black churches and like these people are dancing, the music's going, and all this. That's like a praise break. Like in the middle of like the praise team singing or the choir singing before the pastor comes up, like literally people say like they feel with the Holy Ghost, and people just start running around the church and like dancing and doing all this other stuff and it's popping off, and like you can really get into it. And so like there's praise breaks in these songs where like it's 3 minutes of me just like dancing in my car.
Yeah.
So for me, it's easy. But if you don't do that, or you've never even heard of a praise break, like why is the song 7 minutes?
Yeah. I totally get that.
But yeah.
All right. Shall we do
Um,
our recommendations for the week?
I am ready. You should start up because I'm
Okay,
pulling it
I'm
up.
gonna start up because last week I had three set aside, and I remember we had a guest.
Yes. Okay.
So
So
my
what was the
first
third?
one, I'm gonna recommend "OMG, Oh My Goodness" by Vic Mensa and Pusha T.
So good.
So good. Oh my god, the bars on this are incredible.
Isn't that from like the EP, right?
No, it's from the autobiography, his debut album, which is better than Chance's debut.
Fair.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, absolutely criminally underrated album in my opinion.
okay, but
Yeah, and like next time we
um,
need to fill a slot with a deep dive, I'm pushing for it.
can we push? Okay. Hey, I'm in for it. Honestly. Then what I would do for my first one, I tried to like switch some of these around, but there's a song called "Romantic Homicide" by a group called D4VD. I found this song randomly on the internet, but man, is it a sad song. It's
It's
like all
sad.
about love and everything. Yeah. It's called Romantic Homicide. It is like it gets you thinking.
Wow, that sounds depressing. I love it.
All right, what's your next one?
All right, my next one is going to be Kung Fu by Corday.
One more time?
Kung Fu by Corday.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, came up on shuffle this week. Have not stopped listening to it. The
You
Kung
know,
Fu. It's so fun. It's got bars. It's fun. It's light. What else do you want?
that is true. I'll do that. I want to give more respect to Corday. Not that I like don't respect him. I need to give more listens to him and like appreciate him more. And I feel like I'm
I'll
missing
be
some of
honest.
that.
Like I've never really been seen the draw, but like I saw him live this summer. I've heard the song. Starting to reconsider.
It's got me thinking.
Yeah.
That's fair. Okay. My second one be a song by the Free Nationals featuring Mac Miller and Lucius called Time.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's an incredible song.
It is so good.
Yeah.
What a group, what features. God, I miss Mac Miller.
Yeah. I miss Mac. All right. My next one. Also, R.I.P. on this one. Uh, so it's October. It's vibe season. To me, I love a good nocturnal fall vibe. You know, I have an
Okay.
entire playlist devoted to it. Right. And something I've noticed is songs that I think have a lot of vibe. They usually have like they're usually very they have R&B elements. They're very sing songy. Uh, they're very rarely like full fledged hip hop rap songs. But by
Hmm.
God, I have one. There's not a single sung word in the song. I'm recommending "See You Sweat" by Injury Reserve.
Wow.
Yeah. Tell me this
Wow.
isn't like pure nocturnal vibes.
You know, you put me on Injury
Injury
Reserve,
Reserve,
right?
they're so good.
Didn't and I could be wrong. Did someone die in the group?
Yeah. So Grogs.
Okay.
There's two
Okay.
rappers in it, Richie with a T and Grogs, and Grogs passed.
That's
Yeah.
sad.
He's the only. If you look up like dead rappers, he's the
Okay.
only one who like they have been able to keep it under lock and key. What happened?
I remember like how it died and everything.
Huh?
What do you mean in terms of what happened? Like,
Like no one knows like how he passed.
oh, okay,
It's
okay,
like been
okay.
able to keep very private, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, okay. I do like that.
Yeah.
I want to. I want to go back. Don't they have like a Drive the Tesla or something like that?
Jailbreak the Tesla with a Mine.
Jailbreak the Tesla. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That
with a
sounds
Mine,
good.
and
Okay.
it's uh, one of my favorite guest verses from that year is the Mine on
I
that
mean it.
song, and also same album. The song's called "Wax Off,"
Mm-hmm.
featuring Freddie Gibbs, and
Banger.
it's one of his best verses of all time. I'll say this: I think the verse on that song better than most of the verses on
Uh,
this last album.
okay. But
Yeah. So, "See It Sweat" by Injury Reserve.
okay. Then my last one is going to be Celebration by the Game. I
Wow.
went back and listened to the whole album. Man, this song stands out. It has Chris Brown, Tyga, Wiz Khalifa, Lil Wayne. All of them do a fantastic job on the album. The vibe, just feel like I was in LA, just cruising on the beach.
Man, I love a good LA vibe, even though I've never been there.
You used to go down like, we had a celebration.
Ugh. All right, my friend. That was that was this week.
All right, bet we made it. We're through.
All right. There is Chinese food waiting for me.
Oh, go
So,
crazy. Say
bye.
less.